So tonight I thought we could make a video that will help us work towards a middle split. We're going to be using a foam roller and we're going to be using a band. If you don't have a band, you can take a towel and gently roll it. Anything that you can use as a strap. So some things to think about when you're working towards an ambitious goal like a split are what kinds of stretching are most effective for increasing range of motion. Increasing range of motion would be PNF stretching. So that is proprioceptive neuromuscular facilitation. It's a mouthful, but it basically means that you are contracting the muscle that you are stretching prior to the stretch. So you hold for 3 to 5 seconds and then release, and it allows you to increase that range of motion. So a lot of times it's done with a partner's assistance. Tonight we're going to be using the floor and the wall and this band as a little bit of resistance assistance. So if you would like to meet me down on your mat, we are going to do some dynamic stretching along with that neuromuscular facilitation. So coming down onto the mat, we are going to start in our seated straddle split. Nice wide stance here. Good. Roll those shoulders back. And here's where, if you would like, you can use your strap. You can use your rolled towel. We're going to come out to that right side, and you're going to gently hook underneath the ball of that right foot. Be mindful of your arch, and you're just gently coming out to that right side. If you're not using a strap here, then you're just bringing those right fingertips underneath the ball of the foot. If you're very bendy, maybe you're running them up and down along the center of your foot, just kind of massaging the fascia on the bottom of the foot there. Good, and taking 30 seconds to elicit that stretch response in the muscles. So we'll be holding for 30 seconds. And during this time of stretch, feel free to close your eyes. Feel free to rest into the stillness, rest into the space. This is purposeful, but we are also doing yoga. So we're thinking about that mind-body connection. We're thinking about just resting after maybe a long day, or maybe even before a long day, whenever you're doing this video. So we're coming out now to the left side. If you're using your strap, you're bringing it gently underneath the ball of that left foot down. You're finding your stretch. And gently coming back, shoulders stack over the hips. And now we're going to tiptoe those fingers down the middle, relaxing and releasing the head and neck. Good, shaking the head no, nodding the head yes. Inhale back, shoulders stack over the hips. And we'll do all this one more time. Gently coming out to that right side. When we think about working towards a split, we want to think about stretching the hamstrings and stretching the adductor muscles. So you've got the hamstrings on the back of the thigh here, and you've got the adductors, inner thigh. So that is what we're going to be working on today. Inhale back to center. Exhale left. Inhale center. And exhale, tiptoe those fingers out, relaxing and releasing the head and neck. Good, now we're going to do our first PNF stretch. So you're going to think about squeezing the inner thigh, squeezing the hamstring here. And now gently walking out, and maybe you can get a little bit farther out this time. Inhale back to center. Exhale, we're going to gently come up onto the heels, and we're going to press the elbows into the soft part of the inner thigh. Good, this is seated garland. And again, we're just thinking about opening those hips, bringing those toes parallel to the knee. Good, inhale, relax and release the head and neck down. Exhale up. Moving into our next set of stretches, let's find our butterfly, clasping heels together. Good, and exhale, rounding back and shoulders out. Again, feeling free to close your eyes, feeling free to think about linking the breath to the body's movement. We are here. You're doing some stretches, we're doing some yoga. Inhale up. Exhale, grabbing the first two toes on either foot and opening up to your air splits. Good, you're pressing through the heels, you're balancing on those sits bones. And here, proprioceptive neuromuscular facilitation time. So you're going to squeeze the inner thigh, activate, and now release. See how you get a little tiny bit wider. Squeeze the inner thigh and now release, opening up. On your inhale, gently bringing heels together, rounding back and shoulders forward, coming down into that butterfly. Maybe you're pressing those elbows to the soft part of the thigh. Maybe you're grabbing the shins and pressing the hips a little bit farther apart. Feel free to nod your head. Yes, and shake your head no. Stretching into the suboccipitals at the base of the skull. Inhale back with the shoulders. Exhale, grabbing those first two toes and opening up to your seated air split, pressing through the heels, flexing the foot. Now inhale, squeezing inner thigh, and exhale, open. Inhale, squeeze the inner thigh, and exhale, whoop, release. Don't fall back like I just did. Good, and once more, squeeze, and exhale, release. Good, and inhale, butterfly, exhale, relax, and release the head and neck. On your next inhale, gently bringing knees together and allowing them to fall out to that left side. Coming to hands and knees on the mat for cats. Gently tucking toes to downward facing dog, pedaling these feet out, and let's bring that right leg to sky and sweep it forward to find your runner's lunge. We're going to come into lizard pose and then frog. Gently bringing that back left knee down onto the mat. Good. Finding low crescent position. Bringing both hands to the inside of that forward left foot and holding for your lizard pose. Coming down onto the forearms if you would like to increase the stretch. Good, you're feeling a beautiful stretch in the inner thigh on the right. Feeling a nice hip opening there on the left. Now if you're using assistance, taking that foam roller, you're going to place the forearms on your foam roller, elevating up from the ground. Just make it a little bit easier to get into your lizard pose. Now on your inhale, gently pressing palms into the mat and stepping that right foot back, finding your cat once more. And here, let's walk ourselves out to our frog. So with frog, you're going to find a nice wide kneeling stance. Good, and starting hips high, coming back into extended puppy pose, resting down onto those forearms. You're going to gently open those hips, aiming to bring the knees parallel one to the other one. And you're just bringing the hips towards the mat, towards the floor. Feel the hip opening. Now, if you like a little bit of assistance here, feel free to take that roller and place it just between the thighs, right there underneath. You can use a few couch cushions, a few pillows, elevating those hips up from the ground. Being very mindful, very careful. This is definitely very much a hip opener. When you feel ready, slowly bringing those toes parallel to the knee, back behind you. Planting palms, pressing up from the mat, and coming all the way in towards the body. Inhale, tucking toes to downward facing dog, and exhale, left leg gently comes to sky, sweeping forward in between the hands. From your runner's lunge, lowering that right knee down on top of the toe. Good. Stepping both hands to the inside of that left foot now, and coming down to your lizard. If you're using assistance, you're placing that foam roller underneath the forearms. Good. Lizard can be a challenging pose, so being mindful of the stretch in the body. Inhale and press the palms into the mat. Exhale, left foot comes back, hands and knees cats. And once more, we're going to move down into our frog. Placing forearms on the mat, hips high, extended puppy pose. Pretty slowly widen the knees. And bring it open to your frog, and tiptoeing those toes back behind you, parallel to the knee. On your inhale, planting those elbows under the shoulders. Exhale. My cat's going to join us, hopefully for the rest of the video. He usually hops in for some reason. Tuck your toes and bring it into a downward facing dog, pedaling those feet out. Inhale, right leg to sky. Exhale, sweep it forward and between the palms, finding your runner's lunge. Inhale, left foot follows forward, fold. Exhale, rolling shoulders up to flat back, hands to shins. And inhale, sweep palms in towards the body, rising in your mountain, hands and eyes to sky, and bringing hands gently to heart center. We're going to come into our sun god pose and our goddess pose, and we're going to use some of that PNF stretching while we're there. Taking that left leg gently back behind you, let's open the hips, finding a nice bladder and hip width stance, stretching fingertip to fingertip, coming back and down into your squat. Good, pressing through the heels, and as you press up from the floor, you're aiming to wrap that thigh, the inner thigh around to the outside. Sun God pose. Now here, feel a nice contraction in the inner thigh. Feel a contraction in the hamstring. Squeeze. And now sink a little bit deeper. Widen. Maybe turn those toes closer to parallel with those knees. Inhale, contract. And exhale, sink deeper. Widen the hip angle. Now in between our poses, we're going to be doing some moonflowers. A little bit of dynamic flow here. So inhale, hands and eyes to sky, greeting the moon. And exhale with a flat back, sweeping palms down and in towards the body. Inhale, hands and eyes to sky. Exhale, descend, moonflower. Inhale, up. And exhale, sweep down. And once more, inhale, up. And exhale, come back into your sun god pose. Wide at the hip. Roll the shoulders back. You're gently externally rotating, retracting the scapula, thinking about shoulders stacked over the hips, rooting through the heels, wrapping that inner thigh muscle. Good, and squeeze the inner thigh. 3 seconds. Release, sink down. Squeeze. Release and sink. And now inhale, hands and eyes to sky. Moonflower, we're going to do 4 here with a deep inhale as you sweep down and exhale, greeting the moon. Inhale, descend. Exhale, up. Good. Inhale, doing a Ujjayi breath if you would like to build heat in the body. Inhale. And as you exhale, closing that glottis, building that heat, and now come back. Goddess pose. You're cactusing the arms, bringing shoulder blades together. Good. Lower body remains the same position as with your sun god. Inhale, sweep hands and eyes to sky. Exhale, moonflower. Inhale, sweep. Exhale, up. Once more, inhale, sweep. Exhale, and come back to your goddess pose here. PNF stretch. Squeeze the inner thigh for 3 seconds. And now sink. Squeeze up and sink. Widening the angle at that hip. Good, and releasing the palms, straightening those legs. We're going to gently come into our warrior two. Facing the front of the mat, you're going to turn that right toe forward, finding a 90-degree bend. And now bring the back toes up at an angle, away from the back of your mat. Finding your warrior two. Hips are open, chest is open. This should feel fairly easy with all of that hip opening, the beautiful stretching you've been doing. We're just going to hold for a few breaths. Inhale, release the palms. Exhale, step the left foot forward to the front of the mat, rolling shoulders. Inhale, right foot comes back, sinking down onto that back heel and finding that 90-degree bend in our left knee as you stretch fingertip to fingertip for warrior two on the other side. Good, you're making long lines with the body, gently separating the shoulder blades, pressing down through the heels, grounding down into the earth. Just connecting here. Inhale, release the palms. Exhale, step that right foot forward to the front of the mat. For our balance today, we're going to do some dancer's pose. It's beneficial when you're working towards that middle split. So you're going to gently root through that right heel. You're going to tip forward at the waist with a flat back as you bring that left heel into the glute and grasp the top of the foot. Good. Slowly bringing that left thigh back. You're going to reach that right hand out as though you're shaking someone's hand. Inhale, release the left foot down. Exhale, ankle circle on the right side. Good, roll the shoulders back. Now we're going to move into our dancer's pose on the left side. Tipping forward at the waist with a flat back. You're bringing that neutral grip hand out like you're shaking someone's hand. Grasping the top of that right foot. You're gently coming forward. Pressing into the palm on that right side. And release. Sorry guys, my balance is off today. My mind is a little bit chaotic right now, and that always throws my balance off. Rolling shoulders back. Let's step to the front of the mat. And we're going to gently swan dive down with nice soft knees. Stepping back to our long arm plank. Good, holding here, feeling that core, the strength building, the heat building in the middle. When you feel ready, we're going to chaturanga down. If you like to modify, you can come down onto those knees and lower. Good. Hinging at the elbow, lowering the chest down on top of the toe, and gently press up into your cobra. Be mindful, this is a lot of extension in that lower back. Gently descend, inhale. And exhale, press up, keeping a bend in the elbow, elbows tracking along the sides. Inhale, up, and once more exhale down. This time, big toes together, knees are wide, come into that active child's pose. Now this is a great beginner's stretch for that middle split because you're widening the hips. This is a modification for frog. So if you like this here, remember it for the future, and you can do this every day. Hip opening is a beautiful way to start the day, a beautiful way to end the day. Inhale, gently walking forearms towards the body. Exhale, bringing knees in underneath the hips. And coming hands and knees cat. Let's find that foam roller. Now, if you don't have a foam roller at home, feel free to disregard this portion of the video, but we're just going to do a little bit of rolling for the top of the thigh, the inner thigh, and then the hamstring. A little bit of everything when we think about our foam roller. You can't go wrong, but you do want to be really careful about joints, so be mindful of kneecaps, be mindful of the neck, the head and neck area especially. So planting palms under the shoulders, coming to our cat. We're going to start with that quad on the right side, and you're going to gently straighten that right leg back, placing the roller just mid-quad and lowering that right leg down. I have a shorter half roll, so for me, I do things unilaterally, one at a time. If you have a long roll, you can absolutely roll all the way up and down, placing both thighs on top at the same time. Now with foam rolling, something to think about is that if you do it unilaterally, there's going to be some more pressure, and so it will be more effective, but it will also be less comfortable. The more pressure you put on the muscle as you're trying to release it, the more it will hurt. Essentially, it's scar tissue, and you're deep tissuing, massaging yourself. I always talk about foam rolling like a deep tissue massage, but it's free. We like free. All right, and we're going to think about that inner thigh now. So when you're mid-quad, you're going to take your roller, resting the left hip down on the mat, and you're going to turn the roller perpendicular, parallel to the hip really. Find a 90-degree bend in your knee, and you're going to rest the inner thigh on the roll. Bracing your palm down on the mat, you're going to gently roll out to that right side and bring it back in. Mindful of that kneecap. So we roll into the inner thigh and gently come back. Showing you what this looks like on the side that's towards the camera. We're going to get that quad once more, but now on the left side. Mid-quad and gently rolling up and down, getting the top of the thigh. Good, and now turning that roller out parallel to the hip, finding a 90-degree bend in the knee. And you're just bracing a palm to roll out to the side and coming back and towards the body. Good, you'll definitely feel this. All right, and now gently coming to a seated position on your mat, we're going to roll the hamstrings. Tight hamstrings are something that a lot of us suffer from, especially if you have a desk job. Your hamstrings become tight and short in that position, so foam rolling and stretching are great options for alleviating any pain in the lower back. Planting that left foot down, you're going to straighten that right leg atop your roller, and you're going to just gently roll up and down. One method that I find effective for foam rolling is activating the muscle by rolling up and down about 3 times. Usually that's enough to wake it up. Now stopping in the middle, you're going to gently roll back and forth, and this is called spanning across the muscle. Good, and moving to the other side. About 30 seconds of attention with the roller on each area of the body that you're working. It's a nice gauge, especially if you're just starting out with your foam roller. You take it nice and slow. You don't want to hate it, and you don't want it to be too painful. So, all right. 3 times and gently standing back and forth. Good. One more stretch, one more foam rolling. Let's think about sitting on the roller and getting our glutes. So with glutes, there's a lot of adipose tissue on most of our glutes, especially as females. And it's hard to get down into the muscle. It's just deeper. And so thinking about one glute at a time. I'm on my right side now. And once you've rolled up and down a few times, you can gently span across. Then you can switch over to the other side. Usually one side is going to be tighter than the other one, whatever the dominant side of the body is. Oftentimes we activate the muscles there a little bit more, maybe we use them a little bit more. So, if you don't know what side of the body is dominant yet, you will when you sit upon a foam roller. All right. I'm going to place that roll out to the side now. And I'm actually going to take and place it underneath my hips. We're going to end our little yoga session today with a garland pose with hips elevated. So you're rolling the shoulders back. Let's clasp palms together and finding that wide stance here, pressing elbows into the soft part of the thigh. We're going to end the clasp right here. Now if you like your garland with no assistance, you're going to remove the roll and you're just going to hold here. I like to rest my chin to chest in my garland pose. Hip opening is meant to be an empowering pose. It's meant to be an empowering body movement and position. So if you associate that feeling and that thought with all of your hip opening poses, then it can really be a very beneficial sort of a place to be, a place to sit. Now here at the end of our practice, let's assess the inner thought landscape for just a moment. Turning the thoughts inward. With hands to heart center here, let's begin to think about a positive thought, an affirmation. Maybe it's a word, maybe it's a sentence. For me, the tone of my week has been trying to find gratitude for all of the blessings, all of those small things. So I'm going to think about gratitude. Inhale, with saying gratitude to myself. Exhale, release. Inhale, inviting the breath into the body. Exhale, release, emptying the belly. Inhale, invite the breath in. Good, like a friend. The benefits, it's bringing oxygen to your muscles. It's making everything feel better. Exhale, release that breath once more. And with one more affirmation of your word to yourself. Let's find our space in our mind where we can simply drift. It's a safe place. Rest into the stillness. Gently planting palms before you. If you would like here, you can gently come into a crow pose for a challenge. From your garland, you're placing those palms down on the mat. You're gently bringing those elbows back into the thigh, and you're bringing those heels, the toes off the ground, holding here. And coming back, planting those palms. Let's walk those heels in towards the body and coming up with a nice soft knee, moving toes parallel to the knee. Planting those hands just above the knee and rolling it up one vertebrae at a time. Allowing that chin to rest down to chest. Good. Let's gently bring hands and eyes up to sky and hands to heart center. Namaste. Thank you for joining me. Have a really good rest of your day.